thank you all the panelists. Thank you all the panelists for introducing yourselves. So at the Next2, we deal with innovation, and we see innovation as it has evolved and with its trends. Yeah, Mike, you can go back to the slides you had gone to. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so we look at innovation and its trends. This is what we all can see through part of our experiences and through recent history. When we were born or kids, the age of manufacturing and distribution, which is how the century started, gave way to the age of information. This was really the core. This really became the core in the last 30 years about innovation of multiple industries, from the internet and computers becoming more widespread, in fact, ubiquitous. And this led in the last 10 years to what we call the age of the customers, where all this information and access has empowered everybody to demand a new level of customer service in every field. And what we see as the next core trend is that the emergence of three things happening together, essentially the Internet of Things, connected devices being everywhere, gathering huge amounts of data, and this data being used to create first insights and then automation. This is a trend that we see across industries at different speeds and different levels in different industries. But yes, this is where we think we are at the age of Internet of Things and big data and exponential AI. And we see huge effects of this in healthcare, of course. And at some point in our lifetime, this will come to such a level that it will create autonomous entities in a variety of fields. And this is how we see our present and future of innovation.
Thank you, Andrea. I'll take over here. So today, this event is in collaboration between TenX2 and Healthcare Dialogues. The founder of Healthcare Dialogues, Chris, is also present in the background. I will just read to you what is Healthcare Dialogues. Healthcare Dialogues is a platform that enables decision makers and key influencers from the medical sector across 4 continents to connect, exchange ideas, and build working relationships. Members include MNCs, SMEs, investors, academia, technology companies, and consultancies. We cater for the full range of the industry of pharma, medtech, diagnostics, digital health, consumer, and wellness. So this is our partner. It's I think is a very worthy purpose what Healthcare Dialogues has. And TenX2 is about enabling sustainable growth for the innovation ecosystem. TenX2 started in 2016 in Hong Kong. Is about scaling, about growth solutions, about consulting, about partnerships. We are based in 6 locations: Hong Kong, India, Singapore, China, Germany, and the Netherlands. And our focus is to grow the startup ecosystem, the corporate ecosystem, scaling of startups, consulting of established companies, and partnerships between established companies and early stage companies. And that's what we do today. If you look at the last point, partnerships between established companies and early stage companies is exactly what is it about, what we're gonna do today, right? So, so practically, before we go to the next slide, I would like to get a feeling for all of us, but also for the panelists, what is the mix of the participants. So I will launch a poll, and I would like to request all the participants to vote. There are just 3 questions, so please select which one you are. It's the 3 choices. You are working for a healthcare startup or scale-up, you are working for an established company, or you are a consultant. So practically there are more participants, but not everybody is voting. So we wait another 30 seconds. Please vote. It's good to know. So practically we invited more startups and scale-ups here, but it's good that we have a mix also of established companies. We invited also established corporations, and consultants are always present in such events, right? Okay, thank you very much. So that's I assume that the panelists, you can see the results, right? So we have 56% are members from healthcare startups or scale-ups or early stage companies. We have 18% established corporations and 26% are consultants. And I will share the results, assuming you all see the results. Okay, thank you. So we continue our webinar. The next so practically this is something for the benefit of all the participants. If you are a healthcare startup, early stage company with a product or platform working and sales minimum $500,000 per year, and you need any of these corporate connections, healthcare partners, connections with investors, strategy and execution for faster scaling, you can write in this simple email address, innovation@NX2 after the webinar, and we will make the connections. That's the purpose of, we make connections between the startup ecosystem and the corporate ecosystem and investors. That's the purpose of this event. So again, if you are an early stage company and you have already a product and minimum sales, that means you started selling, and you want to grow practically, you can write this address. We will establish the right connections for you. We continue, and here starts practically the panel discussion. The panel discussion is going to be about 70 minutes. And if you have questions, please, you can write in the Q&A. As Andrea requested previously, if you have any questions, you can write in the Q&A, not in the chat. So I would like to start with the first question, which I will request all panelists to respond. We are in the era of the Internet of Things, in the era of the big data, in the era of the artificial intelligence. So how are each of you championing this IoT, AI, and the artificial intelligence as a 21st century tech in healthcare? There is no particular sequence. Who would like to start first? Please go ahead. I think this is an interesting question for everybody joining today. Who would like to go first?
I'm happy to jump in because I've retired, so I can always advise and talk about what I did last, right? I'm not accountable.
Please, excellent. Thank you.
So, I don't know about Internet of Things, and I don't know if I'm answering the question correctly, but digital transformation and data science were the key drivers for the success of our business in Vision Care. And what did we do here? If I look at Vision Care as a $3.5 billion business in a $90 billion company, it was one of the first global businesses of Johnson & Johnson. So when we did SAP way back in 2004, it was a global instance. When we did Salesforce.com, it was a global instance. The QMS service, the complaint handling systems, again, these were all global systems. Now that's great because you have a global functional system which moves all the way from the customer to the center. But none of the systems talk to each other. And we had to depend upon people to connect the processes. And what we did was we started pooling and connecting those systems with each other, started making the data within the system more liquid. with the intention of making it accountable for the customers. So instead of a very function and process-centric organization, we made it a very customer-centric organization. And that took a fair amount of time in terms of just changing how we worked. The second thing which we did was we also connected with our customers. And this is not just an easy VMI connection, but also getting into the operations of customers, many a times also getting into the consumers, so that, getting consumer data pulled all the way into the company. And that's also a hard transition because not many customers are willing to share the consumer data, right? It took a fair amount of convincing. Now, thanks to all of this, what I can say is the metabolism within the company changed dramatically, and we became a much faster decision-making company because we used to have a customer 360. If I'm a rep anywhere in the world, and if I know that there is a complaint of my customer, I don't have to wait for a month. I get to know about it immediately along with various functions within the company. And I believe that is something which really drove success for all of us in terms of, not just financial success or market share success, but people feeling more energized about and accountable to take decisions. So that's what I would say. And we were one of the first companies to do that successfully within J&J. And we are trying to see if we can roll this out across the company over a period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Swami. Excellent. Excellent start. A great introduction. So who would like to go next?
Maybe I can, chip in here. So, as Mike, you rightly pointed out, I think the future of healthcare will be having a lot of IoMT, and also about artificial intelligence. AI is going to be a mainstay, at least in some of the low touch point areas, like radiology, like eye diagnostics of the eye, diagnostics of ECG. These are low touch point areas, and AI is already making inroads there. Very much going to be the force multiplier for healthcare providers to be able to service a far more degree of clients. We've already seen that in India, a lot of players building engines in that space, so that's a given. The other point that I would like to make here is the power of big data, and that data play that is now starting to happen, which happened which started happening in the US maybe about 5 years back, has now started happening in India also. So big data play now is, it started with Roche acquiring Flatiron for their data purposes, but I think we are investors in a company called THP, which looks at patient data of more than 60 million patients, and is able to draw clinical intelligence from that data to be serviced to pharma clients for their research purposes, real world evidence, and also to insurance for medical underwriting. Also, help public health be able to clearly define strategy for disease prevention and disease control. So those are the kind of models that are coming up. We see them now taking on root in India, and I'm sure that will be also the case across Southeast Asia, going forward. These are models that are there to stay.
Thank you, Pinak. Thank you. That's very right. Who would like to go next? I think this is a question that I would like all of you to answer. Yes, please.
Yeah, maybe I jump in here. I just, as an independent consultant, just share some of my observations. Especially, I want to link the big data AI to the existing COVID situation. I see there are some more and more trend in this area because the COVID situation seems to will be, stay with the human beings for many, many years, or maybe forever. But you look at the China market, the healthcare system, they're starting to using the big data to tracking the peoples and make sure all the peoples, they can be traced back. However, this may not be work in other market or in other countries, but China is doing that. And also they're using some AI to helping not only on the medical, treatment side, but also on the, to taking care of the patient, to try to helping the patient, and also make the linkage with the patient and nurses and between the patient and the doctors. So I think the AI and the big data, all these internet things, I think it's emerging very quickly and will further emerge on this trend. But in the COVID-19 situation, I think even quicker and the bigger changes we can expect. So that's my point.
Thank you. So the COVID situation is going to accelerate a lot of trends that started just before COVID, right? But it's accelerating everything. That's the message here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, who would like to go next?
So maybe I'll go next. Again,
Yes,
I
please.
think I pretty much agree with the panelists. You just mentioned, that there is actually the future is AI, IoT, big data, and it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. I think the main thing that we have to understand is how do we really, partner with the consumer, with the customer in this journey? I mean, that's most important. So when we talk about big data, we talk about IoT devices. The question of adoption by the customer is also equally important. So you might have data in large enterprises, but that might not be clean data. It's, you need to clean it up. Data quality is to be, actually very, very, obviously, sanctified. And there is a need to collect more relevant, more contextual, more immediate data from the customer. So in this case, the collaboration between startup ecosystem and the large traditional companies becomes imperative, becomes very crucial, because you need to make sure the customer engagement is there for him to share this data willingly. And of course, you already have a very large database that the large companies have, which can be leveraged further. It can be cleaned up and leveraged further. And then after this is done, you have, in some sense, some level of training of the algorithms that needs to happen to make it even better, to make it even more useful. So the key thing here in healthcare is that you basically are combining patient safety with customer convenience, with the patient engagement, with ensuring that the customer is willing to, partner with you in sharing his data. So to me, that's where the key, the crux is, where collaboration is important. We need to realize what we lack and get, the right partners on board and work with them to deliver that patient experience that he so sorely needs. And ultimately, we need to ensure that the AI engines, the algorithms, further get refined, further improve with the quality data, and really create a difference, in the way we treat patients, in the way we engage with patients.
Terrific. Well, I guess it's my turn now. Well, the
Yes,
reason
please.
I choose to be the last one to talk about this project is because I want to hear what other panelists are saying, and also trying to summarize with maybe 3 case studies from our firm, reflecting maybe 3 transactions around the space of IoT and as well as AI. As a matter of fact, that by our vocabulary now, we actually see the convergence of not only healthcare with IT, but also the convergence between IoT and AI. So actually, we now call it basically AIoT. Okay, so one of my case study example is actually a convergence of both technology in one. And we had, speaking of the pandemic, not only the pandemic not slow down the deal flow, we actually, like William Jin has mentioned, at least in China, we have seen some very accelerated deal flow, and around diagnostic and also around the telemedicine area. So my first example, a deal that we serve as a kind of a sell side mandate for a French telehealth company, to be more exact, a telemedicine company. They're offering basically teleconsultation to many patients and as well as doctors throughout Europe, and then they were thinking about putting it for sale prior to the pandemic. But gladly, I'm glad they didn't, and then they hold it until during the pandemic because their sales has basically shot to the roof, and that was really good for valuation by the time they do put it on sale. So eventually, the company got acquired by a British company called Health Hero, which is one of the leading telemedicine company. Again, that's a great example showing how IoT, technology is being used here to help people, and especially to help people during the pandemic. And that sale, has been very successful and then well received by the market. And of course, Health Hero bought this company called Carry, which is French-based, and then Health Hero himself was established by a legendary, entrepreneur by the name of, Ranjan Singh, and he built quite a few other, assets in addition to investment. So we thought that was a good transaction, showing not only the IoT will dominate the future deal flow, but also will be the main, key driver for our growth as well. The second example I want to share with you, if I may, is two cases. One is a company called Perigen, which is a US company based in North Carolina. And it is a maker of, perinatal monitor, or, basically to help protect the safety of, mother and child during childbirth. And so that technology is basically using AI big time. And so then we can, basically for sure, many patient surveillance kind of a technology using AI will be also dominating the future deal as we speak. And then this company was actually acquired by a UK listed company called Helma, which is our customer for many years back. And Helma, traced its route to Sri Lanka to be one of the first, company during the British Empire, and then, repatriated back to the UK. Now it has a very big footprint in India and also in China. And then the last example, which is the third example, which is using AI to the extreme, which is actually a medical imaging company based in the US, founded by a Korean American who's a doctor in the Mount Sinai Hospital. He set up his company as a startup and asking us to be involved to do a Series B raise, private placement for 40 million. And so we conducted the deal and connected them with a few other, PE, and who are showing huge interest. And their technology epitomized the current utilization of AI in a way to identify plaques in the artery. And so as a way to, early diagnose patients suffering from heart attack. And as a matter of fact, the standard set in this medical technology company might be adopted by US FDA going forward as the golden standard. So once again, as you can see, not only the AIT or the IoT or the AI technology have arrived, but they will be dominating our deal flow, and it will be the key growth driver for our business going forward. So sorry, I took a little bit more time.
No problem. Thank you very much, William. I think this is the first question has been answered from everybody. This is very crucial. We are moving to the era of combination IoT and artificial intelligence together. This is going to create tremendous growth, especially for healthcare, which is in certain aspects lagging behind other industries. So the growth and the acceleration of growth is going to be phenomenal the years to come. So here I would like to continue with questions, and I would like to mention one more time for the participants, if you have any questions, only in Q&A. In chat, we don't accept any questions. So only in Q&A. So I go to the next question, which I would not expect all of the panelists to answer. I would prefer maximum 3 per question from now on. Otherwise, we never finish on time. So the next question is, how can M&A between corporates and startups or scale-ups can contribute to sustainable healthcare innovations. So who would like to go through this?
I guess I can start if you don't
Please.
mind.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah, just following my momentum, right? And so basically, this is the area, as a banker, we do. We want to see more marriages, between the startup and established company or scale up for whatever the purpose is. We do see, many, more established company can benefit greatly from the startup is in terms of adoption of new technology and innovation. So, I used to work for J&J as well, just, like Swami. I support, Visticon. I support many of the medical device company, Cordis, and all the 5 pharma company from the procurement perspective. So all of my suppliers are, generating value and generating innovation. So the key success for J&J was to adopt all of them when we can, either through supplier relationship or through working on an M&A side. So, I guess, quite a few examples. Maybe one of the recent examples I want to touch upon is this today's announcement, press release by Illumina to buy back a company they actually created, several years ago called Grail Inc. That's a great example of showing how a bigger company can benefit from a startup and vice versa. And so Grail Inc. was funded by Illumina in this case, and then got spun off. And then amazingly, the company was growing very fast. And then now, they want to do it, they want to buy it back through a merger and acquisition. And of course, there's a hindrance on that. And that is the government is watching closely to see if there's antitrust. So that's another issue to the question 6 we can address. But I just want to use this as an occasion to open the floor for more thoughts from all of you.
Okay,
Yeah.
William. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to jump in here. It's I believe there will be more and more cooperation or so-called marriage between the big established company versus the startup company. The reason, my observation is, the reason is on the big company side. I think a big company, their system, their SOP is killing the innovation. I was leading some of the big companies and within the R&D arm. I think a whole mindset, whole incentive behind is not for incentive, not for a startup company, not for innovations. But on the other side, I think that there's a lot of motivations for the young scientists or engineers. They have creative ideas, new inventions. So I think I will see more and more that kind of marriages in between these two. But my suggestion for the new startup company will be understand the established company, understand their strategy, understand their future R&D strategy and development, and then thinking about what you can offer. Not just try to sell some stuff to the big companies. So again, my point is there'll be more and more this kind of deals, and I see there's a rationale behind.
Okay. So one more of the panelists who would like to go.
Maybe Mike, I can. Sorry,
Yes,
go ahead.
No, please carry on.
Both of you. Go ahead. One.
Okay, so I totally agree with William Jin. Most of the large corporations are giants. They move at their speeds, which is at millimeters per second, rather than the speeds of the startups, where they are the Maseratis of the world. So the difference in this culture, at times creates a situation where the two are at completely different planets. At completely different planets, and that is a challenge at times. But when large corporations are looking towards the startups, they need to go ahead with an open mind. They need to also understand that the startups are coming in from a completely different culture, non-hierarchical, non-structured culture, and that needs to be incorporated by the large corporations rather than just being, dictatorial, hierarchical, in their thought process. So these are real challenges that you see on ground, especially when these mergers take place. The second is, very early in the stage of a company, of a startup, if the strategic comes and takes some chunk of equity in that company, it is left in a situation where it is at the mercy of the corporation. The corporation has its own thinking process, does not allow the evolution of the startup, and it becomes a kind of a mess for everyone involved in the system, and that is something which I would advise early stage companies to be really wary of. At what stage of their life cycle do they want the strategic to start coming in? It is also difficult for investors like us in the middle of all of this, because then the strategic has a definite advantage over everybody and can technically screw everybody else.